Hello and welcome to another episode of Remote Pair Programming. Today you will see me and Johan Martinsen pair on a BugsZero kata. It's a thing that Johan created and he's very passionate about. And I like it very much. You'll see why. It's about design and how to minimize defects by having a very good design of your code. We were very passionate about starting at once and we didn't even introduce ourselves. You'll see what Johan is about. He's a very good programmer and I learned a lot from him in this session and in other discussions that we previously had. So tune in and have fun. Let's discuss a bit about the BugsZero kata, and could you please explain what is it and what we'd like to achieve today?
So the BugsZero kata is something I created in the wake of the movement of BugsZero. BugsZero is the idea that bugs are optional and that we can improve the system so that bugs exist less and less. And in fact, this has happened at many levels, like how we do deployment and stuff like that, and how we specify. But more specifically in the code, whenever there is a bug, it was usually quite easy to introduce it. The design didn't stop it, and so it's the idea of whenever we have a bug, we kind of not only fix the bug, but possibly also the root cause that made the bug easy or possible. That's the idea of BugsZero.
Okay, and today we have a kata that we used for other ideas for legacy code mainly, and it's the trivia code base that we're gonna use to show how this works and how we'd like to minimize the potential bugs from this code base.
Yeah. So there are two cases. Like either we have a bug and we fix it and we see what made it possible and how can we make this type of bug either impossible or just very much less likely in the future. But then we also have like we often look at code, like in code reviews and stuff like that, and we can ask ourselves the question: will it be easy to work with this code in the future? Does it seem like difficult to introduce some features? And then we could maybe question the design up front.
So we are looking not only at code, we are looking at design, and we are thinking about potential issues that might appear with this code. And for that, I guess you need some kind of experience to understand how this works. And you need the experience in previous cases or in previous situations where you had this type of defects coming from all sorts of situations. So I guess this type of analysis is not something that a junior programmer would be able to do, right?
Well, I would say that experience is indeed very useful, but not necessary. So maybe a complete junior would have difficulties with this, but anyone with just a bit of experience already likes and dislikes code. And I think this is a very usable thing. Like code we don't like, that we can spot very quickly. So I'm not saying that every code we don't like is bug prone, of course not, but it's kind of like a good place to look for bug prone stuff. The correlation is very high, at least in my experience.
But even that can be very personal and subjective. If you say about code we like or we don't like, it still comes a bit from experience, right? But it comes also from a sense that you create while reading a lot of code, I guess.
Yeah, it's not a perfect measure, but it's a way that doesn't take much time investment because it's just there, and the correlation is in my experience very good. So what we do is whenever we see a place we don't like, okay, why don't I like this? Is there a potential problem here already? What kind of feature would be very hard to introduce in this piece of code? And if we don't find anything, then the code is good, right? If we do find something, then maybe we can think of some alternative designs to that, and see what how they perform given like a specific feature.
So in this situation, you can also do some other things. Look at defects that you previously had, or some major defects, and see how you got to that. I'm a very big I try to teach this to everyone. Say, hey, if you have a defect, search the root cause, and quite often the root cause is the architecture or the design. And of course, in very complex and complicated systems, it's difficult to navigate and understand exactly what the root cause is, but at least you can try.
Yeah, it might be difficult to find all the possible alternative solutions, indeed, and that's where we gain from experience. But starting to think in this way is I think likely to bring experience quicker.
So in my experience, I saw that if you have a system, you don't need to blame the user. So the user in this case is the programmer. So if you have the system, you need to change the system in order that the users would make the right choices, or the choices that don't generate negative impact. And I think it's the case with BugsZero, right?
Yeah, definitely. That's a very good
so
image of that.
Never blame the user, never blame the programmer. Look, what was the design that generated that defect? And I think you'll learn a lot more and gain a lot more.
And also, if you look at every problem in this way, it's kind of much more inspiring and much more pleasant to work in this way. So it's not whenever we have a merge request, it's not like this design is bad, do this one instead, it's much better. So that's why people hate merge requests sometimes, right? But this is more like, okay, so what if we had this feature? How it would be a bit difficult, right? Can you think of some alternative designs that would perform better? That's a much more interesting problem to solve, or
and a lot more helpful to achieve the end goal of having a better system.
Yeah, the kind of I don't like this, that kind of comment disappears in a way.
Yeah. Okay, so let's look a bit at the code now.
Yep, absolutely.
So we have the trivia kata, and the trivia is a game where you have a board and you have these dice, and then you can end up answering some questions depending on where you end up on the board. If you answer correctly the question, you need to you win some coins, and if you don't answer correctly, you go to the jail. Basically, that's the business logic, right?
Yeah, it's a bit like a Trivial Pursuit, and you have a board where every position has a question type, and
yeah, we have these question types with pop, science, sports, rock.
Yeah.
The code base has a game runner. That's what we will look at now. And let's see what we like and what we don't like about this code. I see a lot of magic variables around here that are repeating the value. So that's the number of coins, I guess, you can have.
Yeah.
So it's like a purse in which you put your coin when you want it.
Yeah, it's a bit low level. It seems a bit low level, but
yeah, it's extremely clear, and I don't know why it's 6. It's very unclear.
Yeah, it happens to be the maximum amount of players that can play, but
yeah, it happens, but it's not obvious anywhere because the players is just infinite, so
yeah,
there's no connection whatsoever.
yeah.
Then we have here duplication of code, copy paste coding.
Yeah.
Then we generate in a way in the constructor the questions, but they're not real questions, they're just generated.
Yeah.
This 50 is for me very puzzling, why it's only 50.
Yeah, it's the number of questions in each category.
So
but yeah, magic number again.
But in theory you could run out of questions and have a index out of bounds exception.
Yeah, you could. I mean, currently the in Novel Trivial Pursuit, you have one question and you put it at the back of the deck. But you
okay.
don't here. So yeah.
Here you just remove them. Yeah. It happened to me a few times when I was testing this with 6 players that we ran out of questions. So it is a possible defect.
Yeah.
Then it's weird that this one is separate.
Yeah.
Even though it's the same.
Yeah.
This method is not used, I guess.
Even though it actually should be, because the game is not playable when, I mean, you have to be between 2 and 6 players. So
yeah,
that's another rule regarding the number of players.
But again, it's just more than 2, so nothing about the 6 maximum.
Yeah.
Okay, then the add, this is add player name. Here we add the player and set up everything about the player, I guess. And then we write something to the console that we added it. All this stuff is extremely dangerous for anything.
Yep.
You initialize arrays, you put some values that you don't really know what that means. Oh, it says in penalty box, but okay, what else? Oh, here, so the role is the magical method of this code base. I guess here you have, you do most of the logic. If you have an odd dice, you'll get out of penalty box, but here I think, as you mentioned previously, you never get out of penalty box.
Yeah, you can have semi get out of penalty box, but not quite. And so that's a very interesting bug, existing bug to analyze. What are the things in the design that makes this easy, and what alternative kind of design is possible? It's not that easy it's not the easiest one, but there definitely is a very much better simple design that solves this problem.
Yeah, so we'll need to check this out as well. And then we have this move player and ask question, obviously not respecting secret responsibility principle. A lot of duplication with the current category.
This pains my eye, this method.
It's the most obvious copy-paste coding in this code base.
Yeah.
And then something very complicated about was correctly answered, and looking, if it's in penalty box, if it's getting out, or it's a complete mess.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then with the wrong answer, you'd expect a bit more. The only thing is that here you're entering the penalty box. Yeah, and then the win. If you won you won when you have 6 golden coins. Again, this 6 repeats.
No, that's not the same 6 actually.
Exactly. That's the fun of it, that it repeats, but it's not duplicated.
No, it's different things.
So you'd have that idea to extract all the 6 from around this code base, because it's the same, but careful when doing that.
Yeah.
Then we have the game runner. The game runner is just a kind of a test where you add some players and you do some random with dice, and
it's a game simulator sort of.
It's a kind of a simulator, and you have a result printed out. And then you added part of BugsZero. You added this test that says it's lockdown, and please explain a bit the idea of lockdown.
So this is a type of test that is completely aimed at refactoring. So it's kind of meant to exercise the code and then save every output of the code. In this time, the result stream is the actual toString of this game state at the end. So this makes it possible to do any kind of refactoring because everything is completely tested. So there's almost nothing we can do in the code that will break the code without breaking the tests.
So if we run the test now, it's green. It's kind of short. It works well. And if we go here and change something, like, I don't know, I'll put here some text and then run again the test, they should fail.
Yep.
So it fails. And you're using
approval
tests. So we can see the difference. The approval test means that here you have this file that is the golden master, the reference. And for your situation, for the seed that you get into there, this is like the right answer, and it should behave like that all the time.
Yeah.
But then you have this received, and now if I do here click to see the difference, I can see the difference between the expected and what happened. And I can see here the difference in the text I added.
I think we can put a link to a short approval test demo.
Yeah, for sure. So I got the code back. Let's run the test. And I think we're ready to go. So what shall we do with this code? How can we refactor out the...
Yeah, I definitely, when I'm looking at this code, there are a lot of things I don't like, but the one that pains me the most is the that horrible if statement in ask current category.
Yeah, this one.
Yeah.
This is awful, yes.
And so, okay, I really don't like it, but is it a real problem? So what kind of feature would be very difficult to do given this code? That's the kind of question we should ask ourselves.
It's obviously very difficult to add a new category, and it's difficult to understand what this is. What are these numbers? Why do they come like that every 4?
Yeah, it's every 4 space on the board, that is a pop question, and every 4 which is a science question, and so forth. So given we add another category, then we have to place them at every 5th spot. And we have to make sure that we have to increase the board size too. It's not easy, right? And
you have
like,
this. That's weird.
What positions are rock at?
All the rest, right? If you have a board with 1,000 spaces, you'll have many rock questions.
Yeah. So it just happens to work in a way.
So what can we do about this? I have, let's check. So I have my code here. I'm on master. I'm gonna want to make a new branch, coding with Johan. All right, and now what shall we do about this code?
Well, let's see if we can find refactor a bit so that it becomes easier and easier to, or less bug prone, if I may say so, to introduce a new category.
So I'll do the driving and you'll do the navigating. I'll do the typing. You can guide me more towards this.
So I'd probably address duplication. That's always a safe thing to do. So maybe just extract a variable like current place or something like that.
From this one?
Yeah.
Sorry,
not
this one.
Time, but
so this is current place.
And also these 3 lines are duplicated, and it's so like
do that. Oops, I thought it would pick my. Okay, this is sports. Shall I extract this as well?
Yeah. Let's make it more homogeneous.
So we have pop, science, and sports.
So now let's remove duplication for all the pop stuff. So we said it was every 4th position, right?
Yeah.
Let's do a modulo maybe.
So we're saying if current place
modulo 4 equals 0.
How is it? Like that, right? Equals 0, then I'll have pop. And then I can
delete the other ones.
Mix up in between editors. Okay, so if we do that, let's check a bit our test.
Yeah.
So nice. We can repeat that.
Yeah.
With this. And this would be science, and this would be sports.
Nice. And then it's like the rock one. Maybe you can try to duplicate the last line and just put rock in there instead. Modulo equals 3.
And then I need to still return something.
Yeah, it's just to create homogeneity, and
So I'll leave it like
there's
that.
a pattern here, right?
Yeah, for sure.
We're always doing modulo 4. Maybe we can extract the current place modulo 4 at the selection, which is not. No, it's just that you had the parentheses.
Yeah. So what is this?
I don't know. Let's name it I for now, and maybe we'll get a good name right later. But now we kind of have a pattern here, right? Like if I equals 1, I equals 2, I equals 3.
Yeah. So this is like a kind of a catalog. Like we know that for 0 it's pop, 1 is science. It looks like an array or something like that.
Yeah. So to me, there's like this generic thing that we can, if we're doing this kind of thing that equals a value that follows each other, then we can replace if by map. Replace if by array.
Yeah. So what should I do?
Well, put pop signs and all that in array list.
So this is a string.
Yeah.
And we call it
category titles.
And this should be.
So maybe you want to do arrays.asList.
Yeah. And
pop sign sports rock.
Here we just add them. So this is similar with this.
Maybe it's just to return a list, not an array list. So the type on the left.
Yeah. So then we need to use this.
Yeah.
And we need to return something like
get the ith element.
It's like that, right?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a list.
Get.
It's a list. So we do that. And let's see what our tests are saying. Good.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, so now we can find a better name for that, right? Now it's like the category index or something like that.
Category index. Yeah, that sounds nice.
Okay, cool. That's a good first step. So now it's a lot easier to introduce a new category. Like we just add it to the list, right?
Refactored method current category. Great. What next?
I think that we can look at, okay, so what does it take to introduce a new category? Is it easy? Are there some possible problems doing that?
I don't think it's easy. You'd need to put here another string, and you need to add it here, and you need to remember to change this to module something else.
True, that 4 is definitely coupled to the category titles. And
yeah, so would that be like the number of titles in the array?
Yeah, definitely, because that's what ensures that we're not getting something outside the size of the list.
So if I'm doing this, would this be the same?
Yeah, that's a much less bug-prone way of doing it, right?
So we minimized one potential bug source.
Yeah, and we did that by using a data structure instead of just conditional logic. And this data structure maps more closely what the domain logic is. And when we do that, we have less bug-prone code.
Yeah, and it really looks nice now. I know what that is. Well, it's the size. It could be, I could even go further and say extract this to something that means like number of titles.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Okay.
Nice. I think as far as this piece of code goes, we're good. But there's something a bit similar in the method above. Not below, above.
Oh, sorry, above. Yeah, exactly. So we have these again, like the texts.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, we have this kind of duplication. So let's do the same, right? Extract these as variables. Or should I just promote these as fields and then use them? What would you do?
Yeah, there are two things here. Like, so if we introduce a new category, then we have to edit both methods, right?
Yeah.
And it's also unnecessary duplicated the code in the ask question. So it's probably safer to start with removing the duplication. And then we probably get a good idea of what kind of more complicated design we could propose, right?
So how will you start? Would you extract this like that?
I would kind of look at the duplication instead, like in the if statement, but whatever you like.
Yeah, okay. So then duplication in the if statement. So if I do that...
Yes, I was thinking of...
It's not helping.
The system out println and the remove first logic.
So what is this?
So what actually changes? It's just which
this
kind of... Yeah.
So this is the linked list, right?
Yeah. So that's the list of questions per category.
Are those things from here?
Yeah.
So what can we do about this? This is a category.
Sorry?
This is a category of...
Yeah. I think what we could do, the only thing that differs here is we could assign like the questions within inside the if statements, and then at the end we could do a system out println and remove first of that questions list.
So if I do something like this,
we can initiate the questions list. Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. What did I do? Okay. Going back. So do that. And so do the same, like instead of... something like this, right?
Yeah.
Only the name is bad, but we'll change that.
I'll do that later.
Now this is just questions. So we minimize the obvious duplication, things that repeated. So of course, so this is related with this. That's why.
Yeah, I think we have to make there's a compilation problem, right?
Oh,
So you probably have to do a new array list in the line 91.
yeah. Let's see.
Nice.
Ah. Okay. Missed the semicolon there. Good.
Great. Yeah. So now we kind of have the same thing as before. Like we have a series of if statements. Only thing, we're not comparing them to 0, 1, 2, 3 anymore, but to a string.
Yeah. So that means that we, instead of having here the size, we have here the size, we need to have something like a hash or something like that.
Yeah, now it's the pattern of replace if with map. So yeah, hash map of.
So it should be something like of a string and a linked list.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. String and a linked list. And these are I don't know.
Yeah.
And then
new hash map.
We need to add these as tuples. I never remember how to use that.
So with the hash map, what you can do is you can open an anonymous constructor with a
right?
It's after the parenthesis.
Was it like that?
Yeah, you do the double thing, but after the parenthesis. No, after the closing parenthesis.
Like
yes.
All right.
And that's no.
Oh no, that's one.
So you open the body of the constructor with these things, and so then you have to do put pop questions.
Put.
No.
Here.
Yeah, exactly. So you're in a function here, right?
Yeah, it's an anonymous function.
Yeah.
So we do this.
No, then it's a semicolon.
Yeah.
You probably want to do this on several lines, right?
Yeah, I'll do that as well. So science questions. I don't use that often, the hash map. And here should be string and linked list. So we do this, science. Then what else? We have sports. One thing about doing this type of refactorings is that I prefer to copy and paste. I don't really like to write because I don't trust myself. And then so we need to have questions. So the questions would be question map get with the
current category
method. So hopefully this will work. Yep, it's good.
Good job.
Let's see, what could we improve here?
Well, we don't need this one, right? We don't need to initialize it and then.
exactly. So with questions, we can...
Well, you can initialize the type and line 96.
So do it like that. Yeah. What else?
Well, it got easier to introduce a new category, right? But we still have to change that in 2 places.
Here and here.
Yeah.
Let me just refactored. Come on. Refactored method ask question. Okay. So now I have duplication in between these 2 methods.
Yeah.
If I would extract these as variables, it would be a lot more obvious. But even like that, it's obvious that we have it. And the titles, these are the titles that should go there.
They are the keys of the hash map.
So for me, these fields like should be used in the current category method and also in the ask question method. It should be used both. So I would extract some method out of this one.
Yeah, like the get category titles or
something like that.
Well, actually, do we want to extract just that?
Isn't this what's duplicated in between this and the ask question method?
Yeah, but the thing we're doing at 108, 109, and 111, isn't that linked to it as well?
Here we are choosing the current category. Here we're getting the current category, yeah.
So yeah, we have to have some kind of shared data structure, right, for all this, and that shared data structure, we probably want to extract that to a new class or something.
Exactly.
So the question is how do we, in which order do we proceed? Do we we could make this current if this current category didn't depend at all on the members of the game class, then that could be easily moved, right?
Yeah.
So if we
it depends on this one.
Parameter, yeah.
That's the only thing that it depends on, the current place.
So if you do like the refactoring introduce parameter.
So if you do this, and it moved it here, then I could move this. This is what you're saying.
Yeah, we could move that, and possibly also the ask question method is the same, right?
We still have these.
Yeah.
And
yeah, but that's part of the data structure that we want to extract, right?
Yeah, but they are used in some other places, like in the constructor here.
Yeah.
So it's a bit more complicated. Anyway, you could do this for sure.
Yeah, that feels like it doesn't really belong here, or
like this one. So we could put this, and this is current place. So what should we do about these ones?
I think that we can possibly we could possibly, I don't know, do we have, is that good to do now?
So if you want to move these, do you want to move them now, these two methods?
Maybe that would be a good idea, right? Because they don't depend on any variables in this current class, right?
Okay. So let's move this. And what's the name of the class we'd like to use?
I think that it's a questions deck, right?
Question
or deck, maybe just a deck.
Deck. Yep. I want to create it. And it's static now for the moment.
Yeah.
I don't need to do anything because I'll move this as well, right? For now. So what I add parameters for fields. Is that right?
Possibly. Now you had to pass.
No, I don't like that. Sorry?
Yeah, that was strange. Oh, you want to make that static, but it references like the members of the class.
Exactly. That's what I was saying before. It's not that easy to do that now. Only if we move these in the other class and make them public from there for a while.
Yeah, so there are several ways we could do that. What would be your preferred way of going there?
I would extract these as fields. I would use something like a list of them and then inject that list to the deck. But maybe it's a bit too much for now.
Yeah, so
the other option, the simpler one, is just to make them public in the deck class.
Yeah, we could also one option would be to make the question map a member of the class. So initialize.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, in the constructor, and then they would kind of go together. They would move together in a way. Or we can work on, as you said, the logic of getting the list of keys. Whichever you prefer.
So let's try to make a question map member of the constructor.
Yeah. Maybe you should solve the problem with deck there.
Sorry?
Yeah. Why doesn't it see your deck class?
I don't know. I would expect it to.
Oh, it put it somewhere strange.
Oh yeah. There we go. Yep. Now it should go well. Good.
Nice.
So we have, where are you? We have this. So we could make this question map
A field and
a
then move
field. Yeah. And initialize it in as constructor.
Yeah.
And then move this where are you? So it's here. We initialize it in the constructor, and we just get the list of questions. Okay. And now we can use this one, the question map, also in our method.
And deck current category.
Yeah, I don't find it.
No, because you moved it to the deck.
Oh, yeah.
So let's pass it to the constructor of this class deck, and then we can.
So here I just create a constructor. Okay, doesn't work. I tried the shortcut. Apparently it doesn't want to work.
No, what you could do is in the game, if you just
if I call it and generate
when you do a new deck.
Where should we do that? Just make it as a field, the same?
Yeah.
And then I could initialize this. Yeah, I don't want to add this.
And then you initialize in the constructor with the question map.
Yeah, I wanted to make the other way, but
maybe you can just maybe you could just put all this code in the constructor without a parameter.
What do you mean?
Like all the code, line 22, all the code in the constructor here basically belongs to this deck, right?
But I still need to. Yeah, it's true. So I just do this, and I move this.
Yeah, maybe you want to move the line 11 to 14 inside the constructor first.
Yeah, I think it's the same. So these ones I move. Oops. Okay. You don't want to help me. Okay. Should this work? I'm not sure. Yeah, it works. So then you're saying that I could move all of these things to the constructor of the deck.
Yeah.
And this should be a field. And this is that silly method. So let's inline this. Come on. Why doesn't it work? Okay, and what else was the question map that it was initialized here? So I should initialize this. Oops. And let's paste this code again. Yeah, it seems to work now. So if I remove this, I don't need this anymore. And let's run the tests.
Yeah, I think that the
yeah, I need this.
Yeah, you need to
and this should be moved there as well, right?
Yeah.
So I could.
Yeah, well, you probably just want to extract line 75 into the new class, right?
Yeah, it's a lot cleaner, it's true. So what's this? Get questions? I don't know.
No, in fact, you want to also, like the line...
and this, the remove first.
Yeah, the remove first you want to have there inside too.
So how do I do this? Let's just extract this as a variable.
Question.
And then if I extract this, I don't like the name.
No. But let's make it compile and then we...
It's object. Okay, that's weird.
It's a string because it's a non-typed list, that's why.
Yeah. So this is a string. And do I need to cast this?
Yeah.
Like that, or?
Yeah.
Okay, so now I can move this.
Great.
And this works well. This is happy. This is weird.
No, yeah, we can use string.
It's a string. Okay, if I run the tests, they should work.
Wow.
So this is public, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then this is static and public. Do I still need to use this?
It doesn't need to be static anymore.
Doesn't need to be static? I'm not sure about being public.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
And then I have this constructor, which is way too complicated, but we'll deal with this later. So let's run the test, make a commit. Oh yeah, so I just need to use deck. Good.
Nice.
So I need to add the new file.
It has done it already. It has added it.
Oh, it has added it. Okay. Yeah, it has. So created new class deck to hold all the question logic. Good. So shall we look at the deck to make it better and nicer, or do we look around here to see what we could improve from the game?
Good question. So in the deck class, what is left to do is that there is still a duplication of the pop rock science and sports constants.
These and these.
Which is we could solve that problem, but it's kind of contained in one place.
Exactly.
Already.
Yeah.
So I don't know. One easy thing would do is instead of in line 38, what we could try is we could replace the arrays as list. Arrays as list by QuestionMap.keys, right?
Because we already have them in the the question map. Keys set. So it doesn't work because this is a list of strings.
To list, maybe. To array.
To array.
Yeah. And then make it an array in the other side, and then. Or you can do a new array list out of with the.
Did it have the option?
No, like you can do just before QuestionMap, you do new array list. You can instantiate an array list with an array.
Okay, I'm lost a bit. So before QuestionMap? Yeah. Oh, you're saying do this.
Exactly.
And instantiate it inside it.
Yeah, that's the no.
Like
so
that?
a QuestionMap key set to array is the constructor argument to array list.
Oh yeah, because it's I got it. So this should work.
Yeah, you have to type explicitly
the string. It's string? No, it's not string.
Maybe object. Maybe
cannot resolve constructor.
Oh, maybe I'm wrong. So I'm totally wrong. No,
because array list Java line object.
Maybe you can do arrays as list out of key set to array. Let me try that.
Out of key sets to array, and do array list.
So the constructor array, the method arrays, instead of doing a new array list, doing arrays as list.
As list.
You have to remove the new keyword.
Of course. And then here it needs array list of string. This thing in Java always confuses me. Always.
Maybe you so on the type declaration on line 36 there, you specify it's an array list out of string, but maybe you need to specify it's just a list of object.
So a list of object.
Oh, yeah, you're good now. Yeah, you.
That's good, but here
Oh,
it needs array list of object and it gets list of set of string.
so if you do 2 array there.
Array. Provided list of object and it requires array list of object.
Yeah, if you remove array in the beginning of the line.
Yeah. That's the thing. But now this one, it cannot have get. It's a list.
Now you get it with the brackets. No,
because it's a list.
Oh.
No, it's a list.
Oh, sorry.
So it doesn't have get. It needs the.
Yeah.
But the index. Yeah, it should work.
And you have to cast it to a string, right?
Oh. I see. Oof. Always confusing. It's null. 24 here.
So maybe what's happening here is the you know, before the order was important, like the code we just refactored here, we had an array list of, and then we said pop is first, rock is second, sign is third, and so on. But now we're going through a key set, and it's not ordered anymore.
Yeah, because the key set is not ordered.
Yeah. So it's not all that easy, I think, to reduce this duplication.
Can I reset?
I think you can.
Let's run the tests. Okay, so we're back to this.
Yeah.
And it's not that easy because here we have a hash map. Okay.
So if we'd have an ordered map, then it would be easy, right?
Exactly.
I'm not sure we have that in Java.
How was it? Wasn't it something like ordered? Nope.
So I see 2 solutions. One, but that's maybe a bit hacky. So like we're doing the same things to initialize the question. So we could have we could declare statically that these are the category titles, and then for every category title we generate a list of questions, and then we put it into a hash map.
So
yeah, then we actually
exactly.
start.
I was thinking it's the same. So extract this. This is our reference, and then for
and then
each.
Use that in the constructor.
Sorry.
And then use that in the constructor.
Yeah. So if we extract this, and this is what I was thinking, for each of the titles we add it here, and we put the question. Don't we need maybe a better data structure? Don't we need to create a data structure? Because I see that we need to have a name or a title, a list of questions, and we need an order.
Yeah.
Isn't it better to create our own data structure for that?
Well, that's the second option. I mean, we could definitely create it. We could create a list and with something that has the category title and has the list of questions. That would definitely be possible. But I just saw another simpler solution. Maybe it's a bit hacky.
Yeah, just tell me what to do. Let's see how this goes.
So let's create a method like the category, like the get category titles, and then we'll use that and to do a for loop in the constructor, looping on that to just put the questions in there.
So tell me.
So extract the method with line 36 to 40.
Get category. No, it's not a get, it's what it is it? I don't know. Create
category titles.
Titles.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
And now, in order to be able to remove that, we'll use this one to create the hash map in the constructor.
So in the constructor,
basically instead of this, what we want to do is, let's do it after. Okay.
Tell me.
No. Put it like do a for loop after all this, and then we'll remove the code which is above.
So for each. What's in what's this?
String category.
Okay.
And then so you have to invoke that method. And then we actually do QuestionMap.put.
We put the category
and then we call a method that doesn't exist. It's create questions.
Oops.
Create questions, and we have to put it pass the category in there.
So here we should have the category, which is a string. Okay, and here we return.
Yeah, that here we can do something to start with. We can do something which is like line 18. We do that for loop of 50.
Yeah, I was thinking to do.
But we just do create one list. So we could do that with a functional expression, but maybe
so
that's
we do something like the same like there with linked list, questions. And we return it. And here, do we do the same like this?
Yeah.
So if I do this, but instead of this, I just have questions, and I add category. Is this what you wanted?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. This is a really small step that will probably actually work.
So in this way, I can remove all of this.
You have to keep the new hash map there.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because this should be here, but I can remove all of this.
Yeah.
But still rock questions.
No, you have to remove. You can remove that too.
Yeah, I can remove that because it's not used. I thought it was used somewhere. It's not. So let's see.
Missing a semicolon, line 13.
Yep. Thank you. Wow. That's a lot nicer. So we minimized a lot of this duplication just by doing this. It's not the nicest solution, but I think the code diminished as we see.
Yeah, I mean, it might be a solution that will not work if we actually have some real questions and we can generate them in this way.
But we still have the method create questions, so we could extract that and make it as it should be, not generate them.
Yeah, I think it's a lot less effort than creating the ordered map data structure. So maybe it's good. Like, would it be easy to introduce a new category? Yes.
Yes, for sure. So what should I do? I just need to put here something like programming.
Oh yeah, I like to play that game.
Yeah. So this should work. This is the only thing I should do.
Yeah.
Well, if we run the test now, it won't work because they rely on some logic, and by on having only these types of questions. But we start seeing here programming instead of pop.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's the downside of this type of tests. They only allow for refactoring, and any new features, they fail for every new feature. And even if we do a bug fix, they will fail.
And because this is not refactoring.
Yeah.
This is, even though you'd think that adding a new type of question, it shouldn't change the logic, it does. So this is what lockdown means. It's a bit more than just tests on business logic. It's tests on the logic that you have. It's even on business logic.
Yeah. But
so it's a lot more.
The lockdown tests they're very good for temporary tests while you're doing some major refactoring.
And it will hinder us for going further, for making, let's say, adjustments in the way that the code should work from the business point of view. If the business would like some improvements, it will make our life kind of difficult.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have this class. It looks a lot nicer. I need to make a commit. Refactored class deck, minimized duplication. Now we can add a new category only in one place. Yeah, I forgot to run the tests. Oops.
Nice.
Because I removed the category. Okay, so we clearly minimized a potential situation for defects. And if we look now at our game, it has a deck, and it uses this deck of questions to ask what's the current category and to get the questions. And yeah, that's nice. What's not nice about it is that it initializes it here. It's still okay, but we'd like to have some kind of inversion of control here. So
you can inject that as a parameter.
Like. But that's not something very problematic now for our purpose of minimizing
true.
Defects and BugsZero.
Okay. So what I think is that, I mean, we've gone to the end of this problem, so like the problem of introducing a new category, and in doing so, we end up actually extracting a lot of logic from the main class, which was already too big and too ugly.
Yeah.
So by just following the fact that we make code easier to work with, we end up with a better design.
Yeah.
We encapsulate a primitive, which is the hash map, which is a data structure that more closely but not completely maps the domain logic. And I see this a lot, that just following the reduce the bug likeliness kind of brings design into known good ways of designing. So there's no it's no wonder good design principles are good design principles because they actually serve a purpose.
So now there's something very interesting here. You have, if you follow this way of minimizing the possible places where defects might appear, you end up having some code that's obviously better, but it's not something that's over-engineered. That's what I find very interesting. Is because our class deck is for sure not respecting all the clean code principles and all the nice of not having, I don't know, primitives around and so on. But it's definitely harder to introduce defects.
Yeah, that's a very good point. That it's good design, but not over design.
And then there's this question that I always receive when I do refactoring workshops: when should we stop? So following these methods, it brings you kind of a good idea when you should stop. Like the fact that I could add there a new category only in one place, it's good enough.
Yeah.
And I could stop with this purpose in mind, just about the defects. Of course, if you want to go all the way, that's something else. But I don't think it would improve the purpose of having less code less prone to defects.
Yeah, it's always a judgment call, right? When do we stop? But it's certainly like thinking of it this way, it makes it more. We can discuss more like, okay, is this feature likely? If it's completely unlikely, then maybe we shouldn't care about it.
Yeah.
And so we can list all the possible features that the current code don't respond well to, and that gives a good list of prioritization of the refactorings. Also, whenever we have a manifest bug, then we don't have to prioritize much, because that's proven that here we actually do need a design improvement.
Yeah, that's for sure. Great. So we are already in the debrief part.
So there are other things like
Sorry, you got interrupted a bit there. Can you repeat again, please?
Yeah, I was kind of debriefing still. So there are a lot of other problems in the game class. Like you can start a game with, I mean, the only legal games are 2 to 6 players, but there's nothing in the design that disallows that.
Yes.
And there are an array of other problems. I actually, in the Kata description, I list most of the serious problems with this design. So, I mean, to do this Kata, you don't have to analyze the code yourself to see the bugs and weaknesses. You can actually just, okay, so here are some weaknesses. Practice some alternative design that reduces the likeliness of it.
Yeah, that sounded great. So what else? We are getting towards the end of this session. What? How was it?
I think it was nice to work with you. Definitely. I liked being the driver, not having the keyboard almost all the time.
Yeah.
So there's I like this way of strong style pairing. The only problem is whenever you have a syntax problem, then you kind of want to step out of that, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm sometimes very I don't know a lot about Java data structures as they are, because on purpose I hate them. So I try not to use all those very complex stuff that are way too complex. I think it's the worst design ever in any language I've used of data structures. So
Yeah.
knowledgeably, I don't want to use them. I use data structures. I really prefer creating my own data structures with the things I need in Java than using all sorts of things that connect in weird ways. Of course, I use the basic data structures in my data structures that I create, but not their complex ones, because those are, I don't know, it's just crazy. So that's why I get always mixed up and fuzzy about data structures in Java.
Yeah.
I don't know how, but any other language makes them easy or easier. If you look at Python, it's like just make the collection, make it work, filter it, map it, reduce it, whatever. It works. Here you need to know 25 types of data structures, and then lambdas.
It gets a bit more bearable when you go use libraries like Waver.
Yeah.
VAVR. But yeah, I completely agree.
So I just refuse to use stuff that is just stupid. That's the thing. Okay. I really liked this approach. I like this as well, the strong style, because I think you learn a lot and you get things moving. You can, in a decent amount of time, you can do stuff, and I think it works well, rather than having two people arguing about what to do next and not doing anything.
Yeah, I in the kind of subtle way that it forces you to express yourself clearly. That's there's a bit of friction. You can feel a bit frustrated sometimes. You want to take the keyboard, but as you like breathe, you kind of let's express myself clearly, and everything will be fine. Like
it's not that easy. I think at least you need to have a certain level of experience to do that, to be at least effective or to a minimum amount of effectiveness when you do strong style pairing, when you are the strong pair. If I don't think like junior programmer would do that very easily.
Maybe I allow myself to say, okay, sorry, I'm not capable of expressing myself. Can I have the keyboard, please?
Yeah. I think that's very clear and straightforward.
Yeah, and one thing is that when I explain strong style pairing to people, I say that, have you ever experienced being in a pair and then someone like take the keyboard and say like, I know what to do, and type along, and you're there like for 5 minutes and doing nothing?
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel useful?
Yeah.
Is that a good experience? And
It's not.
almost everyone says like, oh yeah, I know that situation.
It's awful.
Yeah.
You just want to get your phone out and look at your latest messages on social media.
Exactly. But which is good, which is the nice thing is that almost everyone has lived this bad experience.
Mm-hmm.
And so is actually more or less looking for a solution. And sometimes strong style pairing can be the savior from the bad impression of pair programming.
Yep, it's true. Okay, so anything else?
I don't know. Maybe put the page here, BugsZero Kata link. So there's a lot of documentation here, and yeah. So this is the README of the kata, and then we have these advanced instructions here,
Mm-hmm.
Intermediate instructions. Sorry. So here are all the existing bugs and weaknesses. Well, maybe not all, but
that we know.
Yeah. And here's also the procedure of how we want to experiment thinking, like identify weakness in the design, which is actually what I'm giving on a plate here.
Mm-hmm.
So you might want to look at it in a second time.
Yeah.
And then like if we're in a merge request or if we're pair programming, like not just say that, okay, this design is better, but state what the potential bug is before explaining how you're solving it.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's kind of what gives us to the way to understand why we think that one solution is better than the other.
Yeah.
Well, separating the problem and the solution. And sometimes sometimes you don't even code in this kata. You can just whiteboard some solutions.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, you'd have to try them and see if they're actually working, but still the fact that you're just exchanging over the possibilities is very useful too.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so that's it. Thank you again for pairing with me, and yeah, see you next time, and until then, have fun coding.
Yeah, thank you, Adi. It's been a pleasure.
Likewise.